Good afternoon, fitness friends. Thank you for joining us today for an exciting webinar with three top CEOs from around Europe with the exciting title, Taking the Temperature on Reopening Around Europe. So it's really my pleasure to be the moderator of this third CEO webinar, where in the earlier ones we talked about how to motivate staff and members while being closed. We can now start, and that's the good news, to look at how the reopening is going. Today, there are 22 countries in Europe where clubs have opened, with, of course, special protocols and limitations, but at least they're open. EuropeActive has been enormously busy in providing a lot of valuable information for our stakeholders in these difficult times. You can review all the webinars, including this one, and other information on the COVID-19 website of EuropeActive, where you will find many tips on reopening, including a new online learning program, and much more. After the presentations from our three keynote speakers, there will be time for Q&A, so please use the Q&A function on your screen to pose your questions. So let me introduce the three speakers of today. From the UK, we have Earlam, CEO of David Lloyd Leisure. From Spain, Juan Nieto, CEO of Vivagym Group. And Martin Seibold, CEO of LifeFit Group from Germany. And David Stalker, very happy to have him on this webinar as well. He will at the end say a few words in closing and some important statements. So these three speakers represent different regions of Europe with over 300 clubs in 8 countries. They will comment on their views on the lockdown period and experiences so far in the reopening of their clubs, as well as the outlook for the business after COVID. Some perspectives on what might be different for the short and the longer term of our sector. So without further ado, I'd like to ask Earlam to start with his presentation. Len, the mic and screen is over to you.
Thank you, Herman. Afternoon, everyone. Hope you're keeping well in these certainly challenging times. In terms of the contents, you can see on the screen what I'm going to go through, but this is a journey through how COVID-19 has affected David Lloyd and what we've done about it. To start with, we go to the next one, Robbie. Just a bit of an overview of David Lloyd. Some of you will be familiar with this, some of you won't. We're Europe's largest health and fitness operator by way of revenue. That's in the Deloitte's European Health and Fitness Report. We think we are by way of EBITDA as well, but we don't know that definitively. And what is a David Lloyd? They're quite large premium facilities, about 5,000 to 10,000 square meters. A typical club will have indoor-outdoor tennis, indoor-outdoor pools and spas, large gyms, multiple group exercise areas, kids areas, and club rooms. We've got 123 locations in total in 8 countries, although we're dominated by the UK at the moment, where we have 100 sites. We've got 665,000 members, although I should say we had 665,000 members before COVID-19. We'll probably have about 10% less than that in couple of months' time, I would think, something like that. We've got 10,000 employees, and we were in the process of creating, and we'll certainly go back to, a pan-European change of large premium clubs. And to that end, we acquired Meridian, 8 clubs in Germany in January of this year. And we still are to fully integrate those into David Lloyd. But we're, despite COVID-19, we're very excited about the future and our ability to become a pan-European chain. Right, we go to the next one, Robbie. Close your timeline. We closed the first of our clubs which is Malaspina in Milan on the 24th of February. By the 20th of March, all of our UK clubs were closed, and indeed all of our clubs. We put all members to what we called a free freeze status from the 20th of March. So that meant none of our members would be charged anything for any subscriptions during a closed period. In addition to that, anything that was lost by way of PT vouchers or lessons that people had booked for swim or tennis, anything that's expired during the closed down period we have found ways of crediting all of our members for all of those activities. So it was central to our closure thinking that the member would lose out on nothing financially in any shape or form. In addition to that, we created David Lloyd at home, an app. We already had an app, but it didn't have nearly enough content for a close down period. And we had what I can only describe as a sort of scramble period of time where we quickly created all of the content of DL at home. I think we did a good job. And then we offered that completely free to all of our membership base. A bit more on that later on. Next one, Robbie. Member engagement. So every single week we have been closed, we've sent several emails and push notifications to all of our members. We've learned along the way what works most of all. And actually what works most of all is segmenting the offering. So when the emails or push notifications lead with pictures of tennis players and it's dedicated solely to the tennis community, even if the content is quite generic content of health and fitness, it will get opened by many more people because it's targeted. So the targeting around our understanding of the primary interest of our membership base has been important. So we know what people book, for instance. So if we know largely people are visiting the clubs normally to be yoga members and book in for yoga classes, they receive entirely discrete and separate yoga communication. And we tell them about all the online yoga classes that are coming up, but many other things pertaining to wellness. So segmentation has been key. And through that segmentation, we've managed to get about 60,000 app users per day, which we were really pleased with, actually. It was a lot more than we expected. Next page. We've also done lots of social media, as you would expect. So, for instance, I'm a member of the DL Run Club, where we all go for a virtual run at 7 o'clock every morning. Can't say I necessarily make it exactly at 7 o'clock every morning, but we post at slightly different times. But it's a real community, and people are posting about personal goals or encouraging people that don't normally run at all to do sort of couch to 5K, etc., etc. So it's communities. We've done lots of activities to create communities in different ways that are virtual. You know, people can feel lonely at this time as well, so we've been very cognizant of that. Next page, Robbie. Overall, our people. At one point or another, it's not right now at this moment in time, we had this new word to all of us, furlough. We had 99% of our team members furloughed, so we did more or less shut the clubs down in their entirety. We tried our best to support our team by way of pay, and we paid everybody in the company full pay in March and April. And then in May and June, we've paid people sort of largely government support. Largely, it varies by country, but whatever the level of government support was. We also created a hardship fund for team members or self-employed professionals that were struggling. And quite a lot of people have applied to us for some help in that regard, which we've been delighted to do. In terms of team member engagement, lots and lots of communication. Probably the most important communication has been the live broadcast that I've done. We did one live broadcast, which was to our 200 most senior people, so all of our general managers and a number of senior central people, where we just updated people on what we were doing in close down, how we were treating the members, what our plans were for team members, how the app was going, that sort of thing. But we had loads of questions, lots of live questions, which are interesting and challenging sometimes, and lots of questions in writing afterwards. And then we did the same thing to all of our team members, and we had about 2,500 people attend these the next live broadcasts, which all the team members were invited to. And we had about 300 questions. So, you know, people wanting to know when we'll reopen, what will be our cleaning protocols when we reopen, etc., etc. A lot of what you would predict, what would be the position regarding their employment. So, you know, in my mind, the most important part of that was to try and put people's minds at rest, that we were going to come out of this and we were going to, get back to our ordinary way of operating at some point in time. But there was lots and lots of other communication as well. We have a sort of something we call kit bag, which is used by all of our employees, where we communicate on a regular basis. And all of the teams have continued to do so in closed down. Right, next page, please, Robbie. Our digital offering. So quite a wide-ranging digital offering, which I say we put together incredibly quickly. And I think the team worked really, really hard to do that, actually. There's lots of nutrition advice, there's lots of kids' activities, there's lots about playlists, etc., etc. But at the heart of this is group exercise. And lots of our members regularly using group exercise from home. So, virtually every day at the same time, because I have a lot of time on my hands, I now do a live streamed yoga class. I'd always been intending to do yoga and never really got round to it. I've been to about 3 classes, but now I do it every single day. So having time to tackle new things has been great. And lots of our members are doing the same thing. 51% of our members have used the app overall. We have lots of live classes. I'll come on to some data about that as well. But the engagement has been much more than we thought. It's not only been about health and fitness. We, in partnership with an outfit called Mindful Chef, and we have done live cook-offs with celebrity chefs specifically for our members. So, something different, just to find ways of continually engaging with our members. We do not want to lose touch at this time. That's the most important thing of all to us, actually. Next one, Robbie. Just in terms of some feedback, and bear in mind we did put this together quickly. And most of our members, over 80% of our members, think the classes we've been putting on are either excellent or good. Most members are using the on-demand, although quite a lot of people are also doing the live classes. Now, these live classes, you've got to think, these are done from the instructors' kitchens and lounges using their iPhones most of the time. But in a funny kind of way, that's one of the things I've come to love. They really are quite charming because you're going into the home of the instructors. And for me, it's sort of one of the images of lockdown, actually, is seeing our different instructors in their homes and the cats wandering by in the middle of them, instructing people. So it's been something different, it's been good, and it's been well received. Right, next one, please, Robbie. Reopening, 4 guiding principles. Cleaning protocols, obviously. And from our point of view, this is about everybody. From the general manager down, when our clubs are reopening, we'll be involved in cleaning. We'll be going round with things that they can wipe down handles with, things that they can wipe down gym equipment with, and everybody will be involved. It won't just be the cleaning teams, although the cleaning teams themselves will be increased in number as well. But social distancing is the second thing. From a UK perspective, we have to keep 2 meters apart when we reopen our clubs, although in some countries it's 1 meter, in some countries it's 1.5 meters. Those things do make quite a big difference, actually, whether it's 1 meter or 2 meters in how we operate, but we will adhere to the local guidance. The third area is keeping our team members safe. All of the team members before they start or restart have had specific training and been given lots of guidance. We also must obviously keep our members safe, and there's guidance around how we do that, and lots of instruction as to what our members should do to help their own safety. So lots and lots of detail. I'm sure you will have seen this from all over the world, and we've developed our own bespoke icons, and we'll try and create a safe environment. I should say, in terms of where we are now, all of our continental European clubs are either fully open or partially open. And in the UK, we have a small amount of outdoor facilities. You go to the next page. This is talking about actually what we're doing in England. Just to make our world about as complicated as possible, even within the UK, there are completely different rules about what you can operate when between Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland and England. The joys of devolved government. But in England, rather than it getting too complicated, we are opening the maximum product permitted by the local authorities, by England in this case. And that includes tennis. So we have outdoor tennis now opening in England. We have small group exercise. People can only meet in England in groups of up to 6. So we have lots of group exercise at the moment going on with 1 instructor and 5 members. And they'll be done, as you can see in one of the pictures here, around the spa area maybe, if it's holistic. If it's group exercise, where we will have taken the bikes outside, they might do it around the pool or on a patio area. We're giving free outdoor tea and coffee in England as part of that. So our approach has been, we will open as much product as we can, as soon as we possibly can. Our members opt into that product. It varies by country. Some instances it's a quarter of the ordinary cost. Some instances it's half. But in England, we've been charging them half of the ordinary fees. And by the way, our expectation is that this will be unprofitable trading for us. But our whole principle throughout this period has been one of maintaining member engagement. And the best way we can maintain member engagement is to get some of the members back to the clubs. Yeah, we've done some research at David Lloyd as to what consumer attitudes are at this time and what our members think. And overall, we describe that as cautious optimism and a general positive attitude towards the brand because of the way we handled the pre-lockdown period and how we've handled the lockdown period. i.e. we haven't really charged them anything and we've given them lots of free things. They like free things, we've come to learn that. But their feedback has also been very clear by way of saying, and we expect in a fully open club a high degree of cleanliness and a very hygienic environment. We expect you to ensure there is a high level of social distancing that adheres to local guidelines. Interestingly, bear in mind, this is our membership base, this research. Going back to the gym/health club ranks as the second most desirable things to do when people come out of lockdown. Visiting friends and family is not surprisingly number 1, but then number 2 is going back to our clubs, which is great to see. But this is a survey amongst our members. But nevertheless, overall, our members are very keen to get back in the clubs. Right, last slide from me. What do I see as the potential long-lasting changes for the sector? Certainly the usage of the app, and particularly from a group exercise perspective at home, I think will change the way our members use David Lloyd in the future. And we plan to develop this in a way that app usage and particularly group exercise usage is complementary to going into the clubs. So, you are a typical member that goes in every Tuesday to do yoga with your friends. Well, that Tuesday, you just can't make it. What does Utopia look like for us? The ability to live stream that class from home. I'm not saying you'll be able to live stream that exact class everywhere, every week, but that would be Utopia, as I say. But you might be able to live stream exactly the same sort of class delivered from somewhere else. But we want it to be complementary, not replacement of. And I think it will continue to be that on an ongoing basis. It may be that one of the changes is increased market potential for our sector in its entirety, because there is no doubting the fact, and all the government officials have been saying, the benefits of exercise and health and well-being are very clear to see, to protect you from things like COVID-19, and they very clearly do develop better immune systems. So, can that lead to further market potential for us? Maybe. Certainly, I think greater technology we will see more of by way of our service proposition. We, like many others, have been sort of playing around with contactless entry, things that monitor heat seeking to assess whether people might have COVID-19 on entry as well. But, there is new technology we will certainly use we've got many, many people used to using the app. We'll do more app ordering. So, you know, these strange times have created more use of technology, and our technology proposition will certainly be accelerated as a consequence of this. We're sort of wondering if usage patterns will change as more of us have got used to working at home and much more comfortable from working at home. You know, will all those offices in London ever be so crowded at peak times ever again? Many big companies think the answer to that is no. They never will go back to being as busy. People really will permanently change work habits. And what will that mean by way of usage patterns of our club? If it has a more spread usage over the course of the day, that could be excellent for all of us. Better cleaning and better sanitation, certainly in the short term, maybe in the medium term and the long time, will be here to stay as well. But certainly, you know, there are going to be some people that aren't going to survive the short-term liquidity crisis which faces many of us. And I do think there will be more opportunities to acquire, and there will inevitably be more consolidation of the sectors for those that survive, to be sort of crude about it. But look, that's all I've got to say. That's my perspective. That's our Brussels club and our favourite picture to share with everyone that you can see on screen at the moment, which is just reopened recently, actually. But I'm happy to take questions later on at the end after the other presenters. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Definitely a very insightful presentation and a wonderful picture of your Brussels club. I visited it several times. It's a great facility. It must be one of your better clubs in Europe. So thank you for that, Glenn. The next speaker, Juan del Rio Nieto from Spain, the Vivagym group. Juan, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Herman. Good afternoon to everyone, and I hope everyone is keeping safe and trained. Let me just share the screen with you. Here. Sorry. 1 second. Okay, here we are. Well, sorry, just doing the rehearsal and I left it on the last page. Well, I thought of sharing with you along the lines that Glenn has just spoken, a bit of a view of the group, then the COVID timeline, just to express a little bit and share what was the insights and the experience on the shutdown. During the lockdown, what we did in order to keep the company awake and people involved and take care of all the stakeholders. The planning of the reopening, the key takeaways reflecting on all the situation, and just out of the oven, first impressions after reopening, to share with the audience what we have experienced since we reopened our club starting Wednesday last week. I think it's paramount to start with the Vivagym group value proposition, the same values that we share and we propose to our members in Fitness Hut and Vivagym. We were traditionally anchoring our value proposition in the prime locations, in the state-of-the-art fitness experience with the look and feel and the offering of studio lessons of very varied, a very easy and transparent pricing with no contract, and long opening hours, which was part of our offering. And I think you could summarize these 4 dimensions in sort of wanting to, of course, offer a very competitive price, but do not sacrifice on certain aspirational elements of the value proposition, such as the location of the look and feel of the gym and the flexibility of the schedule. We have added to this the cleaning and safety of the state and of the members, and this is very clear because what we think is going to be one of the major forces in play, and I will come back to this later on, is going to be the concern and fear in the general public that will condition attendance and will condition the return to normal activity as we have seen it pre-COVID. So now we have put a 5th anchor in our value proposition, is cleaning, safety and sanitization. And as I said, I will come back to this later on to explain in more detail what it means for us. What is Vivagym Group? Beyond the value proposition, we are the 24th largest European fitness company. We reported more than nearly 300,000 members at the end of 2019, reaching 335,000 members in February 2020, just before the closing. And we were the largest Southern European player with operations in Portugal and Spain, and as an Iberian player. We have experienced a nice growth on the period from 2015 and 2019. That's the period where we constitute the Vivagym Group. We did it through the acquisition of Fitness Hut and bringing together the two companies, Vivagym and Fitness Hut, in 2018. And in 2019, we bought the largest low-cost operator in Barcelona with 13 clubs and incorporated to our estate. We are 96 clubs now and reaching about 100 in 2020. We started the year with 92, hoping that we will be on 110. But of course, as you can imagine, the pandemic has put some considerations regarding the expansion. We will resume it very shortly, and we continue with our ambition to be 200 gyms as soon as possible. We just have to cater this with the times that we are experiencing and living now. We were granted the recognition of one of the top 100 companies to work for in 2019 in Spain. And this is the first time ever that a fitness company was ranked. And we were, I think, 81 in the ranking, with sharing the ranking with many other large brands and well-known brands that everyone knows. On the COVID timeline, I would like to maybe summarize it on the emotional roller coaster. We took a preemptive approach to closing. We closed one day before the government mandated the closing of gyms in both Spain and Portugal. We felt that we saw the wave coming. We didn't see it at the beginning of the week. Our trading on Monday and Tuesday was normal, and we closed our gyms on Friday. So the deterioration of the situation between Wednesday and Friday was incredibly fast. We did monitor very closely during that week the infection rate and how this situation was extending to the different businesses. We were paying a lot of attention. There was some fake news, whether a member has been infected in one club or the other. There was a high degree of insecurity and quite chaotic as the week evolved between Wednesday and Friday, as I said. We created a message for team members and all type of stakeholders about the decision and how we will manage the situation. And of course, we acted in coordination with the industry. I think industry unity has been one of the positive outcomes of this entire crisis. And in terms of the calendar you see there, we launched online classes, created a crisis committee, and delivered the first video with the organization in March. We structured the government-backed loans in order to improve our finances. We did a temporary layoff in Portugal. We have done in Spain in March. We did it in April. We created a project team first wave. I will come back to the project team as a case study during the traction on lockdown, and the second video. We did a third video in May. We developed the operational handbook. We did a member survey, and we had the second wave of the project team in May. And then on June, as you see there, we decided on a gradual reopening of the gyms. Started on June 3rd last week, and we will complete on June 17th with the last 9 gyms. What did we do to keep the company awake and keep ourselves active during the lockdown? I will share with you 3 case studies. The first one is the online classes and the social networks. I think we will all agree that during the lockdown, the technology adoption and the online content has accelerated exponentially. We did 61 classes online per week. We reached an audience of nearly 1.3 million in Instagram TV and nearly 2 million in the first 24 hours. Sorry, average audience in the first 24 hours. Our followers grew by 2.0 times 2.5 times in Instagram, Facebook 3.75 times. And we have moved from there into our own platform, which we have called Hut Home. It's being operated in Fitness Hut, and we will export that to Vivagym in due time. And we are experiencing a good results and good response from all of this. That was the first case on this online classes and social networks. The second case study, and I will share a video with you in a minute, was all around the culture of the company. We developed 32 training programs to make sure that all our employees could access to a training program during the lockdown, whether it was an administrative program, a commercial program, or a technical program of any sort. We put that available for them at no cost. 751 members of the staff were training. And we continuously contact people on their weekly calls and with the CEO of communications. We created the team project that I have mentioned before, by which we ask our members to let us direct debit their memberships of April and May. In exchange for 50% of the revenue generated will go to members that were on the furlough programs or the temporary layoff programs. We were able to distribute an average of about 100 to 150 euros between all the employees per month, which complement the salaries they were receiving from the government aid, which created a lot of goodwill with our teams and fortified our company culture. I will give you an example, as I said on the video, in just a minute, but let me just end with the third case study that we developed. It was the enhancement of the value proposition, fully aware that we will lose flexibility in our value proposition as we reopen. We thought that we have to compensate that loss of flexibility because of the restrictions and limitations with a redefinition of the studio classes. Classes were shorter to cater for more people to attend, but at the same time we created more classes and more varied. We also developed the online platform that I've mentioned before, and we have created an outdoor activity project which complements our offer, and that will allow for gyms to be less saturated during this spring-summer period until we return to what I hope will be normal. Employees made a thank you video in exchange for members' contribution, and let me just share this with you for a minute.
Obrigada. Obrigada.
Obrigado. Gracias. Muchas gracias a todos. Obrigado.
Obrigada.
Gracias. Obrigado.
Gracias. Obrigada.
Muchas gracias, de verdad. Obrigado.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Obrigado. Muito obrigado.
Obrigada. Gracias.
Gracias.
Obrigada.
Obrigado.
Gracias. Obrigada. Gracias. Nos vemos pronto. Obrigada. Obrigada.
Gracias. Obrigado.
Gracias.
Obrigado. Muchas gracias.
Obrigada. Gracias.
Gracias, equipo.
Obrigada.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Obrigado. Muchas gracias, de verdad. Obrigado.
Obrigada. Gracias a todos. Gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias. Gracias. Muchísimas gracias.
I'm not embarrassed to confess that I shed a couple of tears when I saw the video from all of them. Let me move on to planning the reopening. As I have mentioned before, we have decided on a gradual opening of the gyms during the month of June. And the sequel that we have developed for all our estate is, first of all, we have zoned the gym. We have developed an access control that moves from the fingerprint onto a QR code. We have overmanaged all our clubs to make sure that we're prepared for any incidents or any event that occur. Management of queues, coaching of the members. What we have discovered is that members are very empathic, and they are helping a lot with the cleaning, behaving very well, and are very understanding of the situation. And we have a system of sharing incidences and the learning curve. And I have to share with all of you that that's been very valuable and insightful from Portugal, that started opening gyms, transferring know-how to Spain, and from the gyms itself in their own territories. So similar to what Glenn mentioned before, we have acted on the security fronts that are, classic, with the social distancing, the enhanced cleaning, the access control, and the capacity control. We conducted a survey with members on the last weeks of the lockdown. We received, I think today we have close to 25,000 responses. We cut this for the purpose of the presentation of 17,000 responses. And what we found was encouraging. Of course, we have to see if this transfer to reality on the weeks after reopening. Nearly 50% of people said that they will come back to the gym immediately. 41%, which is a big number, still haven't made their decision when they will return. And only 3% said that they will not return at all. So we felt that that was quite encouraging. People were planning to reduce their attendance to classes. People were very willing to adopt an online booking system in order to guarantee space in the gym. They were very eager on the outdoor classes. They were also eager on the exclusive platform, and 1 out of every 3 members were prepared to modify their training schedule if that guarantees them that the gym will not be saturated and they will be comfortable with the restrictions in place. And we will see the shape of the curve of attendance in a moment, just to illustrate that further. Our handbook of operations was focused on the access and control that I've mentioned, on the PPE for staff, on the physical distance management, the enhanced cleaning and sanitization, and the value proposition that I have mentioned before, to make sure that all our staff was reassured that while restrictions were in place and we will lose some flexibility, there were very good news still for the members, and we were going to help them to have the similar experience of what they had before the lockdown. What are the takeaways that I would like to share with you, my reflections? First of all, this crisis moved extremely fast, and it had very little visibility on consumer behavior just 3 days before we have to close our gyms. I think also I felt a lot of unity in the organization, a lot of sense of urgency, great deal of coordination between the two countries, and I think that was a very satisfying thing to look. People were very active and very positive in launching initiatives during the shutdown. I believe the morale of the team was preserved, and the team was very resilient in handling the lockdown. I was very concerned because we managed such young crowd of people that you never know how they will react, and guess what? They reacted better than ever. We prepare for the future, and what I can share with you that I felt very, very comfortable, and I felt that we did very well in Spain and Portugal. It was to manage this as a unified industry and believing that we will all come out or we don't come out of this. And that was very satisfying and very good to see. Finally, some impressions about after the reopening. Of course, I cannot share with you much evidence because the company has only been open for a few days. But look at the shape of the attendance curve. You will see there not only that our peak of 5 to 7 o'clock in the evening has smoothened, but we've lost so far the peak of the morning and lunchtime. Now, if we are able to operate with this shape of curve, with restrictions in the region of 60 to 70% of capacity, we will be able to operate and cater for the same number of members that we did before COVID, which is very good news. As I said, take this with a big pinch of caution because we only have a few days of evidence, but we are trading at 88% of our members in Spain, 86 in Portugal, so 87 more or less on average. Study attendance is at 45% of capacity in Portugal, 39% in Spain, and we have seen a spike of online joiners in Portugal, which give us hope for a further efficiency later in the future. With this, I would like to say thank you, and I will also attend questions later on.
Muchas gracias, Juan. Very insightful as well. Now let's move from Spain and Portugal to Germany, and let's hear it from Martin Seibold from LifeFit Group. Martin, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, and really great to listen to my colleagues and in a way also competitors. Glenn, now you're in Europe, but we are on mutual level, so that's very good. LifeFit Group is a newly formed company, May last year, and encompasses a group of clubs which are ranging from Fitness First to Elbgym and Smilex that are operating clubs, but also household names like Barry's, Pilates and Pure going forward, and we're very excited to go and engage on that journey. You can see here on the right hand side, so we go from right to left. We have in the mid-range, we have Smilex and operations we acquired last summer, and they are sitting around the €30 mark, no wellness, and it's compared to, we have a lot of listeners and friends from the UK with a little bit higher than the gym group and clubs alike. We then have in the upper range, Fitness First in Germany has 56 clubs, mostly with huge wellness areas, all above the door, terraces, outdoor facilities, and 20 of them a swimming pool. So we're positioned high end in the upper market, not as high as our friends from Lloyd, but just underneath. And then we have a premium gym, which focuses on strength training, high intensity, CrossFit with Elbgym. They usually sit right next to Fitness First, and it was an acquisition as we couldn't get more space in this area to grow the strength training in Fitness First. We thought put a second facility next to it, and that has worked extremely well, and we will see some expansion here. Going forward, we are entering the boutique market, very successful internationally, of course, in this crisis, struggling. But we are opening our first Barry's in Frankfurt in October. And if you drop me an email, you're more than welcome to have a first session there. And then in December in Berlin, we are opening a gym, and the internal working title is for gym haters, with the best coffee in town, called the Gym Society. If you haven't had a chance to see that in Holland, we acquired the rights for Germany and Austria and Switzerland. And we're opening in Cologne, again, next to a Fitness First, because it targets the 80% who don't go in the gym and all the members who leave a Fitness First. So we are really trying to support our network and use the great locations we are positioned in order to extend the market penetration across various brands. And then we have the original big boutique studio concept from the US, Pure and Pilates, coming next summer. We had leases for this fall for openings, but we decided to postpone them into next year. We are usually positioned in metropolitan areas with Fitness First. You can see that here on the map. So you're on the top right, you have Berlin, in the middle you have Frankfurt, in the south you have Munich. And you can see that Fitness First is concentrated in those areas. And then we have the Smilex operations in the south west, which is panning into the south. The yellow dots on the right-hand side to them are converted Fitness First. So we've taken 7 Fitness First, converted them into a Smilex operation, and have seen real positive feedback. It's worth to mention, as you know, Fitness First has been bigger in the past, We had over 100 operations in Germany about 7-8 years ago, and we're now down to mid-50s. And we want to stop that and over time potentially convert some of our clubs into this new model. But that will be the huge growth driver for the group. So that's the brands at glance. From a reopening point of view, I want to give you a little bit of a reality check. So slightly different approach to what you've seen from my two colleagues beforehand. And then I want to outline what we believe is a huge chance of a lifetime. So a little bit of a positive outlook and how we are using it in the background to try to maybe start your thoughts and processes, how you can use this opportunity. So what is actually really happening? We have all our clubs operating, all 80 plus. So I can tell you firsthand what's coming your way if we have not opened yet. Reality is staff are overwhelmed. They are insecure on a private and on a work level. There's no question around it. And the same are the members. People don't know what they can do, what they're allowed to do. You know, when you're shopping, you know, some hold the distance, some don't. When someone goes into your 2 meter, how you feel about it, some like it, some don't like it. Same in the clubland. Why do I mention it? You as senior managers and your teams have to spend more time than ever to listen to your teams. They're all different. They have maybe their mom at home or close by who has symptoms or is in the difficult group, and that's they might not want to come back to work. Maybe they have problems with childcare. Maybe they can't get the public transport. They don't want to do it. This will be a huge piece. Germany, in the business, we still have 30% of our club staff not working. Most of them actually don't want to work, but we also have significant reduced visitation. And that's the next thing. You can see some numbers here, and I know there has been internationally been sharing numbers, but our visitation is significantly down. We have minus 63% in the first week, year on year. In the second week, minus 54%, and we're now at 50%. Now, of course, we didn't have the joiners, so that accumulates for about 15,000 joiners in those 3 months, and they are heavy users. So you don't have those, but you have many working from home. You have many people who don't want to work in the gym and come out and work out there. But you also have people who can't come to the classes because the classes have huge restrictions, and you literally can't get them into the gym. So there will be less visitors. You can plan with smaller clubs. A Fitness First with 4,500 members has at any time no more than 3 people, full-time employed people in the club. Of course, there are PTs and group freelancers, group trainers, but actually we never have the 7 or 8 we usually have. When we have a swimming pool, there needs to be attendance, but they are closed at the moment, so we don't need that there. So plan that for going forward. You need to know that the questions, the information flow people receive is constant and ever changing. Your members might not know what is the current latest restriction. What are they allowed to do? Do I have to bring a towel? Do I get a towel? Can I shower? Can I not shower? These things are ever changing. So, and this is a huge constraint to you, your marketing teams, your CRM teams, your staff on hand, on the sites. You just need to be really clear. And what we learned, and we made a mistake, we changed the messages. And this is a bad idea. Rate of idea delivery, you need to stick to the communication you decide. So before you open, or if you have opened and you have mixed messages out there, you got to eradicate this and change it and bring it down to some very few key messages. Join us. You know, we had lots of predictions. I can assure you one thing, we didn't have a prediction that we're in first week 60% down, in the second week 87% down, and in the third week 70% down. None of our predictions had this in our model. You know, the worst one was we had 40% down. best case was 120% based on information we had from America and Asia. So it could be very different in the territory you are. The fourth week is much more promising. For the clubs who have 4 weeks open, we are back to about 50%. And we see actually that the web leads are coming back almost to previous year's levels. But ultimately, you will have a reduced joiner volume, and you need to plan for that. Proactive selling. Fitness First is renowned for having a very good proactive sales force. It's struggling because, you know, calling for a lead, asking for a lead, pushing for an appointment, have a manager's close, and things like this, they were already on the way out. But now, in that circumstances, it's actually getting maybe a thing of from the past. So, you know, ask yourself, how would you react? And be realistic. You know, a month-end closeout, which many of your businesses have, you know, maybe this won't happen. Maybe you shouldn't even go for it. We certainly have learned a lot of lessons already and will continue to do so. Corporate business. If your business depends on, like our business, 35% corporate business, I can tell you one thing, it's patchy. You know, those businesses, they have their own problems at the moment. HR directors, they are busy. You know, there are lots of questions around full-on staff, communications, sacking people, and all this. So you're not on the top of their mind at this moment in time. Just bear that in mind when you plan your reopening. Referrals. Number one focus for you and for us to do future business. Your existing member is your golden goose. You have to keep it. You have to keep them in check, and you have to be making sure that they are referring going forward, because it was already mostly at 50%. But if anything, it will go higher because you're going to sell less. We at the moment, 85% of our sales are from referrals, and that's based on the low joiner numbers. So this is, you know, whatever you drive, whatever you do, if you start now an expensive referral program where you give everyone who refers a friend 1 month for free, that's going to cost you a fortune going forward. So think about it. Compensation requests. Look, I don't know about your countries and your territories, but we have lots of restrictions. No pools, no changing rooms, no showers. The member wants to know, how do you compensate for that? And we have gone down the route that we basically say, look, if you use the gym, you pay the full amount, but you can come less often. So if you only come 4 times a month, it's 50%. And if you come twice a month, it's 25%. So far, out of 250,000 members, we had 1,500 members picking this up. We got huge positive media feedback, huge positive social media feedback. So I don't know if that's the solution for you, but think about it. I can assure you, people are asking you. Yeah. Landlords, we all have maybe not paid the rent or half paid the rent. We paid 50%. And the problem is the landlords also will have a problem going forward. Their facilities have lost in valuation. So you need to bear that in mind. It's not just that you have a problem, they have also had a problem. So there won't be a super straightforward solution. So, you know, planning forward, you need to consider that. Digital offerings. We've heard it from the colleagues, Fitness First themselves and the brands have put up huge digital offerings. I can tell you one thing, we don't believe you can make money there. This is just costs. Whatever you go up there, there's no business case for us as a gym operator to make money out of this. That's my belief. That's my experience. If you do it for the retention, do it for pampering your member, but I'm not sure you're going to make money out of it. And lastly, you know, what's really happening is cash is king. You know, we got to be prepared for a second wave. Is it coming? Is it not coming? We will see it in Asia. They're ahead of us. But if you have the cash, and as Glenn put it, you know, and you don't need it for a second wave, then there is consolidation and opportunities. So cash is definitely king. Then I've outlined some points, you know, what are really, really positive. You know, members really want to train. You know, the ones who are coming in, they're loving it. despite the restrictions. You know, the clubs have never looked any better. I'm sure you've used the opportunity to make your clubs look better. You know, the willingness and speed to digitize and create frictionless activities is with staff, members. It's just fantastic. You know, social media, what an opportunity. You know, we had so many comments from members, oh, you know, negative activities. Actually, the fans from us, they just erode them. We didn't have anything to do. So focus on social media, but it's a real weapon and it's really positive. You know, your teams, when there's less visitation, has more time for the member, you know, but how are they going to use it? Make it more personal. And I think for us, the biggest is we have never seen the staff more open to change than before. And this will be my last point. What's the opportunity into this one there? Yeah, we have used it for employee branding, you know, group exercise instructors, PTs, they're freelance. How can you support them going forward in their businesses? We decided as a group that we actually pay our GX instructors 25% during that time, despite they didn't give any classes, because on their social media channels, they then they promoted us. PTs, we're supporting them with rent-free periods and all this stuff. Just think about what, you know, it's a huge opportunity as an employee to get your values out there and use it, but it will cost you some revenue in the short term. So you can read this afterwards in more detail or ask me, but I hope, you know, there's so much positive out there, so many opportunities. I wanted to share them. This is an overview. We separate our business in 7 Ps. You see the 5 here. We also have performance and plan for our strategy. But, you know, take this in your leisure afterwards. But there are some really good ideas in, and we've heard some from the colleagues before, how we have managed to survive during that time and use the pre-opening. But I wanted to focus a little bit more on how we came back. And this was our general slogan. This is how we brief the staff teams, but it's also on our website, so members can look it up. We really thought a lot, how we'll structure our website. In our belief, the website is your #1 tool. Yes, social media are more people connected and engaged, but ultimately you need a reference point where you have stored all the information. And social media, we believe, isn't the place for that. You then link to the website. So we have everything on there, you know, your reopening informations on the top with your compensation links. Then we have the brand campaign with our Immune Bust activity, home workouts, we have the live streaming, but also we have the guest pass and the joining put more visible on that page. So I believe the website, and we can see that the website is up 350% to year on year, because there are more people coming to the website, including members. Make it cool. This is an opportunity. Look at your in-club communication and your social media communication around this. And I don't know if you think this is cool. I can tell you, Germans, naturally boring, you know, they think this is really clever. So we've got huge feedback on this, pictures, people taking pictures in front of it and sharing it. So just think about some clever way. How can you make this these restrictions exciting? Member training. We have gone away from that. We make them posh and make them all really cool. We've just let the staff do the training documents, and we are constantly updating them. But we are really using in-club imagery, in-club activities, and just have them engaged. I don't think it's the time for glossy, super well thought through activities. This is the time of, you know, making sure you're fast. Welcome back, fitness family is our #1 slogan. You've seen it. We've put it consistent throughout the clubs, throughout the messaging, and you can see the posters in the club. Reopening, some impressions. You know, 38% of our members used online classes throughout the closure. Afterwards, 29% say they continue, with 28% thinking about it. So it will be here to stay. We had good partners in order to support this. We had personal training on the website. So for everyone, a lot of different variety. We've asked the members what they really want, and the staff, ultimately the outcome is they wanted to have security around the cleaning processes, distancing, all these activities. But we got over 1,500 individual answers where we are now sifting through and looking, what can we really do? And then we asked them, were you happy with how we managed it? And you know what, 12% sounds low, but it's every 8th of your workforce. So I don't know if you've done research and how many people like how you're acting in this crisis, but I can tell you it's a really big focus point of us to make sure that the staff are on board with all the changes we're doing. One thing was surprising. We had the immune system suddenly popping up from 4% as a reason to train to 26. We anticipate that this will go up to 70%. So that's why we're launching an immune booster campaign. And I encourage you to think, along those lines, health benefits and all the things but you need a campaign around it and a messaging around it as a brand. Members wanted distancing and cleaning levels. We were surprised that 60% said, yes, I'm cleaning myself. That's a new, maybe it's the Germans, but we were definitely surprised. And then they said, oh yes, we're gonna come back 3 times a week, 4 times a week. I can tell you after looking at the numbers after 3 weeks, just not true. Yeah, so you don't need to plan for too many visitors at this time. What's the chance of a lifetime? The reality is there's a huge dependency from your employees to work with you because there's lots of job insecurity around. So you can ask yourself the question, what did you hesitate to do so far? What have you never dared to do? Where did you get pushback from the team? One thing is certain, the world around has changed you and you must change. This is the time. If you haven't done this already, think about it. We've called it the Phoenix program, just because you come back as Phoenix from the ashes. And we have gone around our 5 Ps and looked in the areas. And if you would have told me, that when I'm in March and you said, Martin, travel into June, and you by that time, you would have taken away all incentive structures going forward, which are on individual joiner volumes. If you've taken away the external club cleaning throughout the day, you have taken away, you've managed that you have on the website a one-click membership. You have created 50% less processes. You've taken 50% out of the business. You have facilities which are fully invested for the next 2 years. There's no investment needed for it, so there's no cash been drained out. If you would have told me that in March, that in June we have achieved 50% or 60% of all these points, and going to do until end of September the rest of them, then I would have said you're crazy. So think about yourself. If you now go into September and you look back, into June, what are the 3-5 things you've never dared to do? I can tell you this is a huge chance. This is a huge opportunity, and you can and I think you can move your business and your organization forward to a level you've never thought you can in that such short time. So we were very positive overall with the opportunities this brings us. Of course, the financial challenges with the revenue lost and the joiner volumes at this moment in time, they are striking. Retention actually is improving. Of course, you have less joiners, and those joiners are sometimes more fragile than your existing memberships. So that's the natural activity. Overall, when you look at just the numbers, they sometimes are daunting, but the opportunity and the engagement and the excitement, I think we can create around this. And if you count towards the winners going forward, then I think you will have a real opportunity on hand here. So thank you for your opportunity to present here. And David, I know you're tidying up now, but I hope this helped.
Thank you very much, Martin. Herman here. We have lots of questions and not a lot of time, but I'd like to ask the same question is for all 3 of you. And the question is the following. You all touched upon the observed lower joiner volume after reopening. can you touch upon what member churn levels you have seen after opening and how you think this will develop going forward? Maybe we'll start in order of presenting. Maybe Glenn, if you go first, and then Juan, and then Martin. We
haven't got a lot of evidence. We're just reopening, you know. Certainly, attrition is higher than normal. So leavers is higher than normal, but it's not lots higher. Our loss of volume is primarily due to not having any new member sales. So, you know, I think we'll lose about 10% of the volume through this piece. And 90% of that will just be having no new member sales. Attrition will be a little bit higher. And then going forward, we're anticipating rather than dealing. You know, we've just opened in Europe and we haven't really opened in the UK. But we anticipate that when we open properly, that actually new member sales will be higher than normal. And we just assume there's some suppressed demand from the period where we sold nothing for nearly 3 months. So we assume there's a benefit in that, but we also assume attrition will continue to be a little bit higher than normal. But in simple terms, our volume loss is no new member sales and ordinary-ish attrition, you know, but the data's a bit scarce at the moment, I'm afraid, Herman.
Thank you. Juan?
So, yeah. So you've seen that we are trading now at 87% member versus the figure before COVID. So that's not too bad. Unfortunately, we're all aware that both Portugal and Spain are quite seasonal countries, being in the south, and the summer is already a big churned period for us. There are forces at play that make us feel a little bit optimistic. So we feel there is a sort of a cumulative demand. The decrease on the disposable income and the difficulties in traveling might keep people in the cities for longer than they usually are in the summer, so we might get a benefit from that. But like Glenn has mentioned, we have very little evidence. We have traded well with the freezing and compensation programs through the lockdown, and we will not send the true first direct debit until the beginning of July, and we will see there a combination of a spike of the leavers and probably a spike on the rejects as well. So unfortunately, good so far, but with little evidence to share with the audience.
Okay, thank you, Juan. Martin?
Yeah, bear in mind that Germany, we were able to continue the direct debit. So we have actually continued to bill our members, and we've had 10% freezes and 3 or 4% higher rejection rate, but we collected 85% of our revenue. Our leaver number has stayed stable during that time, and it's actually dropping now. The drop is based on that we have no joiners and they are not coming in. I believe the leaver number over time will increase by the nature of, we are seeing that of the joiners, we have doubled to almost tripled the 1 month membership. So there is a urge from the customer to go into a short-term membership. So we are now sitting at around 35%. And by nature, that will mean that you will sell, that you will have a higher attrition going forward. And then there are the natural forces, which we all don't know. How will the economy look? What will be the purchasing power and all this? There are good numbers from Asia Fitness First. So Asia Fitness First has been operating, and they have not seen a negative trend in the retention numbers. So that's encouraging.
Thank you, all three. I can comment to that. 2 stock market listed companies, one Planet Fitness in the US, have published that they have more joiners than leavers after opening clubs in the US, and they now have like 900 clubs open of the 2,000, so that's very positive. And Basic Fit announced on Monday that after 1 week of opening in France, they had more joiners than leavers as well. So I think there is some optimism there to be drawn from these numbers. I would like to now close the Q&A session. Those that have not been answered online already, we'll try to answer them later on. But very important, Dave, the floor is all yours to wrap up this session and give some conclusions and some news from EuropeActive.
Thanks very much, Herman. Thank you, everybody. A huge thank you to Martin, Glenn and Juan for their valuable contributions. The webinars, I think A lot of us are webinared out. We've done an awful lot, but the quality of the speakers and the quality of the information is just absolutely fantastic. I do note, as I see the pictures, that I'm the only one who seems to have not seen a barber, as my hair is the least in the most disarray. But that apart, trying to look as smart as I could, and those of you who know me, I'm not very good at that. I wanted to say a couple of things from EuropeActive's point of view. As you may or may not know, Be Active Hour happened on the 30th of May with partners FIBO, GoFit, Technogym, Life Fitness, Matrix, Les Mills, and MyZone in partnership with David Lloyd. And why I mention this is because this was pushed by the commissioners. This is at the highest level. I've worked in trade associations for a long time. Obviously, I don't now, apart from this role as president, but the push and the difficulty of getting our industry up there and noticed and spoken about has always been difficult. And for the first time through this crisis, we really have been catapulted up onto the main stage. And this was our first step in doing that. We do need to also be aware that as much as that has happened, and Glenn spoke, as others did, about the immunity that is a crucial part that will come out of health and fitness, that the large organizations, the pharma industry, the nutrition industry, etc., will be lobbying very hard also to get their point over the next few months. So I would ask people to help their own local trade associations and EuropeActive in keeping our profile high while we are there in the spotlight. Not the reason we wanted to be in the spotlight, but there we are, and we should take advantage of it. In that level, I will speak, I think it's 17th of June, on the sort of short-term, medium to short-term strategy that we have written, the immediate post-19 period, to keep this momentum going. And then we will look towards the longer-term 2025 horizon, which needs to keep driving this health and fitness and all the benefits agenda forward, and keep the social, mental well-being there, and all the other benefits that come from exercising. Everybody mentioned their people when they spoke, and the importance of our people, and we are a people industry. And I took on a comment that Martin made in overwhelmed and insecure, and that should be worrying to all of us. Not so worrying that we're unable to face it, but I've been in this industry for over 30 years and started as a personal trainer, and feel I understand deeply how the people are, and I'm a passionate believer in our people. So it's great to hear from these organizations that they're looking at that, and I would really ask people to put their people at the front of their plans. In terms of EuropeActive, we've been gathering best practices across Europe, and we published guidance about 3 weeks ago, and that's turned into an e-learning package of 10 modules, which covers all kinds of considerations of how staff should behave and to help them on this journey. And I recommend people go on the website and look for that, and look to take advantage of that opportunity. We're also starting to look at focusing towards analysing and understanding the impact on our sector, as well as the socio-economic impact of the shutdown. And Professor Alfonso Jimenez, who is also a board member, is doing some research papers on this, and they will be published and presented. And of course, we have continued to look at the reopening clubs, national fitness and physical activity sectors, various papers published in various languages, and those all now sit on the COVID-19 pages on the EuropeActive website. I am really delighted once again to have had Glenn, Juan and Martin on this this webinar, and thank you very much, Herman, for hosting. And lastly, a huge thank you to all the people who have attended this webinar and all the feedback we get. It has driven EuropeActive. It has brought the industry back together again, shown, as Juan mentioned, the ability for us to work in competition and together and face one common enemy strongly. So look, I wish you all a great day, a great few weeks, a great reopening, and I hope as many as possible come through these challenges as stronger and ready to move forward, but not naive that these challenges are ahead. Once again, thanks you all, and have a great day and a great rest of your week. Thank you. Bye-bye.